Do you remember the games that were important to you when you were 10 years old? Today I'm jumping back to 1989 when I was 10 years old and looking at some of the most important games for me that I played at the time. We're looking at arcade and NES and even a PC game. Well, I guess it was more of an Amiga game, but these are the 10 games that were the most important to me when I was 10 years old. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you're here. So let's kick things off with that game on the PC featuring my favorite archaeologist of all time.
Before Monkey Island, before King's Quest, before Space Quest, the game that hooked me and got me into point-and-click adventures was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade from LucasArts. This game was legitimately life-changing. I enjoyed point-and-clicks. Like, I had played King's Quest and I'd played Space Quest and stuff like that before this, but they didn't really capture my imagination like Indy did. I was an Indiana Jones fan from the second I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was one of my favorite movies, and to be able to play a video game that was actually fun and wasn't the god-awful NES releases for the movie was amazing to me. It was a true-to-life adventure, and it was something that I could sit and think about and actually want to work my way through this adventure the right way, and I loved it, and I still enjoy it to this day. It's something I go back and play probably every 3 or 4 years. Is it as good as The Fate of Atlantis? No. Is it as good as Secret of Monkey Island? No, it's not. But this is the one that lit the spark. This is the one that started that flame of loving point-and-click adventures. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is that touchstone moment for me. I mean, I bought this complete in box for a reason. I don't do that with a lot of NES games. I'm usually contented to just have the cartridge, but the Battle of Olympus is just one of those important games to me. A lot of folks will look at it and say it's just a Zelda 2 Adventure of Link clone, and you're not wrong, it totally is. But it's a Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link clone that makes use of one of my favorite things, and that's Greek mythology. It's a brilliant game. I love it. It's not for everyone. I'm not going to tell everyone to rush out and buy it right away because a lot of you probably wouldn't love it, but for me, it works. Love this game. Absolutely one of my favorites of all time. There are a few companies that took better advantage of a license than Capcom, and DuckTales is one of the finest games released on the NES. It holds up to this day. Like, the remastered version that released on the previous generation, or 2 generations ago, on the PS3, 360, and Wii U generation, is amazing. And it's basically just a skin update with some new audio put in. The game itself is fantastic. The maps are fun, the challenge is there, it feels like an episode of DuckTales. It doesn't try to be something it's not, it just tries to be a fun DuckTales adventure, and it nails it. And yeah, I can talk for days about how great the gameplay is, but legit, I think the unsung hero of this game is the soundtrack. Every track in this game is amazing. There's nothing in this game that misses. DuckTales is phenomenal. When it comes to arcade games, in 1989, one of the primary ones I played was Ivan Iron Man Stewart's Super Off-Road. There's just something about this game that captured my imagination. Whether it was the 4-player stand-up cabinet with real gas and brake pedals, a free-swinging steering wheel where you were able to just like rip on the corner to go around, it was something that I just loved. And it was something that I shared with my friend David, where we used to play it up at the Super Walmart in Cape Coral, Florida. Actually, I think at this time it was just the standard run-of-the-mill Walmart. So this was something we used to play when I would go down and visit my grandparents on summer vacation. And it was amazing. One of my favorite arcade racing games, one of my favorite arcade experiences, just because this was my real first exposure to something other than a standard stand-up cabinet with a joystick. This was something different, this was something amazing, and you know what? This game holds up to this day. In 1989, my favorite movie was Willow. I loved it. I thought it was a phenomenal adventure, a fantasy epic that was just amazing to me. Didn't hurt that it was made by George Lucas, and I loved Val Kilmer as Mad Mardigan. It was just something that worked. It connected into my brain and just made me a fan, and I thought it was wonderful. I mean, I loved Willow so much, I bought the tiny little miniature, I don't want to call them action figures because they didn't have any actions. They were just like these little metal statues of the characters from the movie. And I got rid of them as I got older, but when I was actually in Korg's 2 years ago in Columbus, I went to the Big Fun toy store there, and I bought 3 of them that they had on the shelf. And I'm so happy I did because it was just such a movie that I adored so much. And I loved the video game. I had never played the arcade one. I didn't actually know there was an arcade one until a couple of years ago when John Riggs told me about it. But the NES version, that one I played the hell out of. I was never good at it. I had never beaten it till I was older, but it was something that I just loved going back to, and it didn't bother me that it strayed pretty far away from the storyline of the movie. I just thought it was fun. I don't know what it was about Legacy of the Wizard that really made me love it, and still love it to this day, because I think if I look at it objectively, I kind of think it's not a great game. There's certain aspects of it that I think are fantastic. I love all the different characters you're able to choose from, and I think the gameplay is fun, but I do think it's a little bit just kind of more than it needed to be, and it doesn't really stick anything perfectly well. It's just kind of there. But I still enjoy it, and I still play it to this day, and it was something I remember when I got it. I think I got it for my birthday that year, and it was something I had no idea about. I'd never played it, but it had the Broderbund name on it, and that was a company I was familiar with because of The Bard's Tale, so I was excited to play this on the NES, and I still love it to this day. It's a fun action platforming RPG. Wears a lot of hats. Probably wears too many hats, but I still enjoy it. Like most people my age, the arcade game, despite the fact that I loved Ivan Iron Man Stewart's Super Off-Road, the arcade game that got the majority of my quarters was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If I was impressed by Super Off-Road, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles absolutely melted my brain. Being able to play a video game that looked like the cartoon I loved, with sound from the cartoon I loved, against the enemies from the cartoon I loved, as four of my favorite characters in any pop culture medium, was just incredible to me. The game holds up to this day. It's still fantastic. There is nothing about that game that doesn't work. It's a quarter muncher, sure, I'll give you that, but it's something that I will always love and I will always adore and I will go back to constantly. Like when I go to a barcade and it's there, that's one of the first ones I play. Yeah, I'm only going to show you like 2 seconds of Mega Man 2 footage. Of course Mega Man 2 is on this list. It's like my favorite NES game of all time. Next. Capcom made a lot of games that I love, and a lot of games that I adored that maybe didn't necessarily deserve it, but Strider is one that I just think was the best thing ever, and I actually like the NES version more than the arcade port. I just think it's a better game. Like, the arcade game doesn't really do anything for me. I've tried it since then, and I've tried the Genesis version and stuff like that, and while they're fine games, I always come back to the NES version. As flawed as it is, as broken as the game as it is, it's the one I prefer. It's just a fun title. I like the character of Strider Hiryu. I like the different missions you're able to go on. I like all the different locales, even though, you know, this is not what Los Angeles looks like whatsoever. But I still love it. It's a fun game with a tremendous challenge and an insane difficulty level, but I think it's great. This is the game that made me hate hard games. Even though I love it. I absolutely adore Ninja Gaiden. I think it's a fantastic game and a fantastic series, but there was nothing that made me rage more than this game. Because it's just so damn difficult. Like, having to time your jumps the right way, making sure that you stick to the wall the right way so you don't have to try to shimmy your way up with these random jumps that are just going to knock you further down the wall. You know what's going to happen every time you do it. But it's something I still love to this day and something I still enjoy playing. I've never beaten this game. In my entire life, I have never beaten Ninja Gaiden, and I think I really need to, but I do think it's one of those kind of signature NES experiences that everyone played that's my age. Everyone had a Ninja Gaiden story. Everyone on the playground would talk about playing Ninja Gaiden and trying to get past certain bosses or where to find certain weapon power-ups to get your way further into the game. It was one of the first games I really remember being playground discussion fodder, and I think that's kind of cool because that transitioned into kind of what's happening here today, right? Where we're just getting together and we're talking about a game we love.
There you have it, my friends. 10 games that were important to me when I was 10 years old in the year of 1989. All these games released in 89. All these were games that I either went to the pizza place or the roller rink or friends' houses or my own house to play. These are the games that I shared memories with, that I loved, and that I still love to this day. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite games were from 1989 if you were alive then, and if you weren't, just let me know your favorite games from when you were 10 years old. I'd love to hear about them. Till next time, folks, I've been Jay. I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me today. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.